few other things on there, you know, talk about it a lot.
That's the best thing.
We are, I don't know. Right, baby,
Yeah.
You wanna unmute yourself on one of them, or at least
But I'm gonna run. Yeah.
down the bottom of the way? Probably feedback goes.
I agree. There's some of ours, so good, I wish. Right. At least they go that. Yeah.
Y'all are doing camera, yeah, like.
Yeah.
Turn your camera on.
Yeah, I have not been there.
Turn your camera on.
Jean and Lori, you have your camera on as well.
Yeah.
But back on.
Is that okay?
Let's turn on.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay. Start video.
Yep.
Or Charlotte. Alright.
Should be.
Can I say hi to the next one, Scott?
Oh, I didn't know.
How many more people?
I thought so. I hit there, but.
I think we're, everybody's ready to go.
Gallery view. Please, could you let me have this? Carl, you want it? Yes. I would, where's Gallery? Debbie's at the top, at the top left, or top right. That's your top right, kind of like cover over there. You see like a waffle? I don't see Darwin. Why is this good for Darwin? Ready? I will now call to order the January 14, 2021 Wayne County Monthly Board of Education meeting. Ms. London, may I have a roll call, please? Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Ms. Schmidt? Here. Ms. Furlage? Here. Ms. Smith? Here. Ms. Debbie? Rogers? She said here. Yeah.
That gives it a delay for.
How's that, Debbie? You're here, Jack. Okay, I will now read the mission statement. The mission statement of Grant County School Board is to join with the community, parents, and staff to provide a safe, caring environment in a physically responsible manner that teaches every child to succeed at their highest potential through strategic policy decisions. This time I will open the floor for,
And let me interject here if I may. There was a question about the proper way to elect a board chair and a vice chair. And so under your policies and procedures, got a copy of here, and they incorporate Robert's Rules of Order. The proper way is the board chair keeps the gavel until a new board chair is been appointed. So the board chair will call for nominations. Any board member can nominate whoever they want to. After all nominations have been presented, the board chair will close nominations and ask for a motion. Somebody can move to appoint one of the nominations for board chair, and then if there's a second, a motion can be voted on after discussion. And then you'll repeat that whole procedure for the vice chair. So she'll call for nomination. At that point, the chairman who's just been elected will call for nominations for vice chair. After all nominations have been received, nominations will be closed, and the board member can make a motion, and then with the second, that can be voted on. So that's the procedure. So until the chair's been elected, the current chair keeps the gavel, will call for nominations, then close and ask for motion.
I think this time I call for nominations for the board chair. I would like to nominate Lisa. Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
I would like to nominate Debbie Rogers.
Any nominations?
Any other nominations?
The nominations are. Nominations are closed. Then what do I do next?
Now you call for a motion, and then if somebody wants to make a motion, you have to wait to see if there's a second.
Okay, I'll call for a motion. I guess for myself as board chair.
But she, I mean, if she wants to make a motion, that's what as soon as she does, that she make a nomination.
Yes, I would like to make the motion that we have Lisa Smith be the board chair for next year.
Then there can be a second in discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I think you're gonna find out this year, about 2 years, keep
We have promotions for board chair. Can you hear me?
You'll have to,
on you.
yeah, you have to unmute anytime you want to talk, so.
Hang on, they're gonna unmute every time they speak.
So Debbie, did you hear what I had said?
I got to unmute, so.
Debbie, did you hear what I had said? Okay, I just simply explained the procedure. The procedure was that the current board chair keeps the gavel until a new board chair is elected. So that she would, the current board chair would call for nominations. There were 2 nominations. One was for yourself and one was for Lisa. And nominations are closed and then it's open for motion. Any board member can make a motion, then a second, it can be discussed. You don't have to vote to be called, if it's successful, that's the board chair, if it's unsuccessful, it's still open for a motion.
Okay, so when do I get a chance to, do I nominate now or have discussion? How do I get my person in, or am I just out of it?
No, you made your nomination, and so now it's open for motion, second, and discussion. And so you can discuss, I mean, you know, and any kind of, if there's been a motion and a second, you can discuss why, you know, you prefer your choice or why somebody else should be board chair. And when a vote is called, you know, if you are urging for Debbie to be the chairman, then that can all be discussed in discussion.
Okay, well, I want to get my chance to discuss it, so.
You want to make a motion?
You gotta do it, you gotta already.
I mean, the board chair said it's open for discussion, you got a motion and a second, it's open for discussion, so.
Okay, so I need to make a motion again.
No, there's a motion and a second for Lisa, it's open for discussion. If you, I mean, you can discuss anything you want to about board chair right now, it's open for discussion.
Okay.
Before you do that, I'm on the meeting stuff, so that makes it easier for you.
Okay, Debbie, can you hear me?
Got to unmute yourself.
I keep it
We're
right.
gonna do that.
Yeah.
You want to hear?
Should be right there.
Who's on there? There you go. Can you see that? No.
Mayor, okay.
You're gonna need you.
I will unmute real quick. And
It doesn't, mine comes right up there. Every time.
I'm gonna do that. Okay, great. Okay, can you hear me now, Debbie? Okay.
I don't know why this-
Okay, my discussion. One thing that you're supposed to do is that everybody who is elected to the board had a fair chance to be board chairman. Now, last time we skipped and went straight to Lisa, which is fine, you've done a great job, Lisa. But I have a real problem with Debbie and I always being locked out. And I would like, if nothing else, a really good explanation of why this is.
superintendents, I don't understand. You want that about that?
Well, I've been on the board for 10 years. Debbie, how long have you been on? 8 years. And we've never had the opportunity to be a board chair. And I would just like to know why. Because I consider it kind of a bullying situation where you're not going to be on it. And that's it. And I think that's very unfair. So I would like to know what it is about Debbie and I that we can never assume the office.
Nobody said.
Well, I guess you did because we haven't had a second to on her nomination.
I don't want to second with 2 people.
Well, I mean, if this continues like it has always in the past, then I would at least like everybody who doesn't think that Debbie or I should be on the board should give us an explanation why.
Well, right now, I think we've done a great job for 2 years, and it's been consistent.
So why can't someone else have a chance? Maybe somebody else could do a good job.
If you feel that way, once you have a thing that we change every 2 years, you're saying one can't run you, or say everybody takes a turn through a cycle.
Well, because of being on the board for 10 years, and that's the way it was kind of done, and Jim Wilson was here, I kind of assumed that's what we would do. But over the last 4 years, or 6 years, it isn't what happened. And I don't know if we can actually change that policy, can we?
You could, I guess, adopt a policy that says it has to rotate, but you can't override the statute. The statute says the chairman's going to be elected by a majority vote of the board. So, I think, that's always going to control. The majority vote of the board is going to elect the chairman. So I think you're right. That policy will not be valid.
That's kind of what I thought. So I think it would only be fair to give someone else a chance to do it. I mean, Lisa could back her up, like she's out today trying to vote, You never know when somebody's going to be absent.
From where I sit, this is my first go round at this, so no, my first time. I've only had one, start my third year. But, this is my second chance to have a board, nomination. So Lisa, I thought, did an excellent job, and what's good about Lisa is she is very close in the county to the board. So if something needs to be signed and Linda needs to get hold of her, she can call her on the phone and get that immediately. But sometimes that happens, where things need to be signed and things need to be decided, but it's just that your signatures are important. And I thought that was good. Plus, Lisa did a good job. She knows what's going on, and so I just thought she did a good job. I just assumed let her keep going.
Well, I live the closest. I'm 6 miles away. I got $17 in my travel expense, the least amount of anybody, so.
But your job takes you out of the county.
I'm a little too tired.
Oh, well.
But I didn't nominate myself. I think that he can work with whatever. And Jim Colton, for example, went out of the country. And I think that, that wouldn't be the best reason. I would not think that, I'm not saying that Lisa didn't do a good job. I just think it's time that we let everybody have that opportunity. Because I was actually thinking when we got to vice chair, since you've been on the board for 2 years, maybe you give me a chance to do that.
To me?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily.
Okay. All right.
That's all right, whatever.
I think it's legitimate, but I also think it's very legitimate that we give somebody else a chance to do it. Because hopefully, every single one of us would be good at it.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking, I don't know what the past presidents was on this. I thought for a long time, the same board chair stayed, the same board chair, but not, in the past.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's what it was.
Right, in our past, what was our past then, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily opposed to not being board chair or being board chair, but sometimes consistency also allows things to move faster and be better, just because you're consistent.
I don't consider that a very good reason, because to me, you need to shake things up now and then. And I don't think that Debbie would. I think Debbie has just as good a reason to do it as anybody else does.
That's fine, and everybody's got their opinion. I just thought that most of the time when we talk to a lot of other places, we're other meetings or whatever, the board chair has been consistent and been that same person for several years. So I just,
Wasn't that way? Jim always the board chair?
No, Alice Peterharden was a board chair. Diane Reed was a board chair. I believe that,
But Dr. Parks was on, he was always the board chair. I don't know.
I don't know the history of all that, honestly, myself. See who and what was what, so.
But the law, the policy is select, people select one and do it. I think if you wanted to be board chair, you know, you do it in January, and then you need to come and talk to the board before they come up and like, you got nominations.
every 2 years.
Huh? I can tell where you said it.
Volume,
Brian, yeah, I can Brian, will be back on the problem. Is your video, is your microphone up?
Is my mic covered?
Yeah, I think I forgot to do something.
She was basically doing the passion and everything. So I did,
Can you hear her talking?
it's like a double feedback.
Well,
Okay.
My fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear you now. You can hear you.
And then it didn't take your coaches,
I just said that in the past, it's not their thing where we come and before the board meeting and have discussions and then we just come to the board meeting and we would put out our nominees and have our discussion. It's not something that we've ever really come in advance and had a discussion about whether we would like this or not. It's just kind of something we think about. You would probably see your role and you come to the board meeting and you put out your own like to do. I've been honored to be able to do the board chair. I think I do a good job. Available, my phone, all the time. But, you know, it's just the will of the board, whatever y'all choose.
Kind of confusing.
well, then, discussion being immediate, then discussion is over, call for a vote, and they can vote. When they turn motion, I mean, it's on you, but you take a vote on whether Lisa Smith continues to be board chair for another 2 years. The discussion is over.
I really would love to see you acquiesce to this, just for being nice about it, I guess. You'll probably be on board, I know you'll be on there longer than I will, but, you know, possibly for Debbie too.
You two just got reelected.
Yeah, we're on for 4 years.
You're on for 1 more year.
But yeah, but I'm not, I'm good.
Well, I mean, Bill, Debbie be on for 4 years. She'll be on, this, she just was re-elected.
Right, but we only do this
Every
every 2
2
years.
years.
Right. And I would heartily vote for you, Lisa, next time. But I really think we should give someone else a chance.
Well, I kind of have a mixed emotions about that. I understand where you're coming from, but then I have two people that would like to see that I finish spot, so I don't know where to kind of keep it a little bit. Yeah, I don't. So I kind of feel like I'm getting a little dense now, so, I mean,
Well, I can just say it would be real easy to have a board that is a little more cohesive than it's been, because I don't know how Debbie feels, but I really feel ostracized and bullied because I've been on here for 10 years. And I know one thing, when he was talking about discussion ahead of time, Debbie and I are never in a discussion ahead of time. Well, if that's really and truly the way you feel.
Is there any other discussion? If not, Madam Chairman, it's time to call for a vote, no other discussion.
I just wanted to make it about myself. I mean, like I said, I kind of feel like I'm the boy about the whole thing, I'm coming from that, so it kind of leaves me in a different light of things.
Well, since we only have Jean and Lori, myself, you and Debbie, I mean, really, you've got to make from now on, really. We are always going to be the minority.
I kind of look at it as a team. I never thought it was, one person over another. I mean, I'm president of a couple organizations myself, and I would be grateful if somebody would step up and say that job sometimes. But, you know, this I thought was something where we worked together. When I ran for office, that was my say. You know, I said, I'm running because this is a board that we try to work as a team. And I mean, I've never felt one person was more valuable than the other. Because, I mean, you know, I don't know everything that goes on. I haven't been here that long. But, you know, I think it doesn't seem like there's arguing and fighting amongst ourselves. I don't know.
Well, I've been the president of the Historical Society. We had 60 members at one time, and I felt like that I handled it quite well. But I was willing, after my term was up, to let somebody else take the reins for a while. I think it's just kind of courtesy. However, we're not going to have a capital riot.
Let's hope not.
Well, the only way to change it is Lisa, because she don't want. That's the only way, because she's already been nominated. And, proposed and second. So it has to be, either she denies it or we can't. That's all. Hmm? But she wasn't second.
Debbie?
I'm not being everything procedurally, one has to come to a vote first, I mean, so the first one comes to a vote first, that's the only reason we're taking a vote on Lisa first. I mean, If that gets defeated, then Debbie would come to a vote. I mean, but you gotta take a vote on one first.
Okay,
Lisa was first, that's my reason her vote is first. That's the only reason.
so we have to vote on that, on Lisa, and
Right.
then we can move on to Debbie, right?
Yeah, Lisa's not appointed chairman. I mean, once three vote, then you've got a chairman. Right, so, but that's the only reason Lisa was first, because her motion.
So,
So, I mean, I think the chairman still thinking, but whenever discussions close, we can simply call for a vote.
Time out.
I mean,
I feel like we lost something on the ball. I'm sorry. So do we call for a vote?
Yeah, the discussion is closed, we'll call for a vote.
Okay.
So all in favor of Ms. Smith as board chairman, signify by saying aye.
You go right ahead. Okay. It says, okay, we're going to vote for Lisa. And then we're gonna get to you. That's the next part, okay? Okay, so we are vote to say who would like to vote for Lisa. Okay. What? Okay, so that's two. Okay.
Well, and all opposed to the motion. Yeah,
No,
Do we have to do an opposed? Can't we just go with what the vote is?
But if the board wants to, the board chair is currently, so the board chair will say the motion died. You can do it if you want, you can do it without saying opposed, motion chair, right? So you say there's only two in favor, the motion died. That we're going to minute for a shot.
I would like to abstain from voting, to be honest with you.
But, and that's, again, if you're abstaining from voting, then the minutes should reflect that the motion died. Or actually, they had two votes, was the, it has been
Yeah,
around.
I just feel like, want to make somebody mad in a situation.
No.
Yeah, no, I am.
I wouldn't say mad, I would say disappointed. Because I think I have a good argument for why we would share this position.
The next thing would be, you make a motion for Debbie, right?
Or you have to take- I mean,
I'm just asking if I
that was already done.
No, no, she has to make a motion.
She made the motion and Debbie seconded it.
No, no.
Hold
You did
on,
not
hold on.
make a motion.
I don't bring up, I'm not voting.
You have not voted.
Yeah, I know. Everybody, hold on. We got two votes in favor. I don't believe the chair ever cast a vote. That's not saying that she can vote no, she can not cast a vote and say there's only two votes in favor of the motion. And therefore, it's defeated. That's what we do reflected in a minute, which you can vote in favor of. And if you say that there's two votes in favor of the motion, so the motion is defeated, you will not have to call for those opposed, take opposition.
So like I said, I feel like if I vote for myself right now, I'm going to have people that are not happy, and I don't want to do it that way, but also.
So you can say, you say, I have not cast a vote, there's only two votes in favor of it. And it's defeated, and then that's what the minutes reflect, don't have to cast a vote. And that's what-
Thanks for the vote, thanks for your vote of conscience, Debbie, but sure, I'm not making me feel much better. I mean, I don't feel like I don't feel like I've done a bad job, and I feel like I'm here to be in the spot, but I also feel like I'm gonna make somebody unhappy if I say I'm letting somebody in.
Well, you know what I would do really like to hear you say is, yeah, it would be fair if I let someone else do it. Because I've had 10 years and we know you did a good job and we would be happy to vote you in again the next time around. It works that way.
Lisa, vote the way you feel. And I, you know, this is getting a little redundant.
Right.
And discussion, and they think of others, so, I mean, waiting on, here, or,
It is different, isn't it? It's not a political thing because that way you run for it, you really, really want it. But in this case, it's more of a courtesy kind of thing because it's board members that choose the next person. So it's not the same as running for an office where you really, truly want it. It's more like the team.
Okay, I'm not gonna wait for myself to just believe it. Anyway.
okay, so, man, for a second, three votes, everybody voted for motion. Motion does not carry. Floor is open for other motions.
Now you're up to the
I make the motion that Debbie be the new chair.
Is there a second?
motion second.
Motion and a second, floor is open for discussion again. No discussion, there's a call for a vote.
That's it.
More discussion? Okay, this will call for a vote then. Okay. Are there any in favor of Debbie Wade name?
Two. Now what?
You gotta open it up for another.
But, I mean, so, was it two in favor, I mean, you can either call for opposition vote, do like you did before. Say it's ayes, because it's only two, and then we're going to be taking nomination. The chairman has three votes.
No, I haven't said Darren or anything.
Debbie, my apologies, Debbie, I said, when there's been two votes in favor, I don't believe the chair voted yet. She can vote, if you call for an opposition vote, but if the motion was defeated, then the floor would be open for nominations again, because the chairman must have three votes. But at this point, there was a call for all those in favor, raise your hand. I think that's still where we're at. Chair has not passed the vote yet.
Well, Charlotte, I'm gonna defer to your wishes.
You have my absolute utmost respect, and I really appreciate it. I think it is the absolute right thing to do. And next time I will be the first one to nominate you.
You guys call for an opposition vote, that's what we're reflecting.
Opposition, no, I mean, opposition vote, if y'all wanna, raise your hand right now, if not, we're fine.
Debbie's now the chair, Debbie should run the rest of the meeting.
That's why I'm not going with you guys. So sorry about that. So, I guess from here, are we good for vice chair?
Yes.
Yeah, that is, it is the same procedure all over again for vice chair.
Will there any nominations for vice chair?
I do, Lord.
I second.
Any discussion?
You'll do it.
Okay.
But
If there is discussion, take vote, all in favor of Lori as vice chair, raise your hand. Motion carries, Lori. Welcome to vice chair.
Okay.
So on my, agenda, looks like it's, approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor? Pledge the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looks like it's, next on the agenda is construction updates.
Okay, yep, that's all you.
Hey, you.
I'll just, give you a quick update, on our, energy contract. For the lighting at the high school, right now, they are 85% complete. At the high school, they will be finished at the high school around, the 25th, of this month with the lighting, except for the exterior and the gymnasium. I asked that they wait until, the season, the basketball season, the short basketball season is over, so that we don't have any, setbacks there while they're, in season. They were fine with that, to do that. So they will move to the middle school, around the 25th, and then the middle school will be the next school they'll start, changing lights out. Season's already started.
Yeah.
I guess, end of February, with that, the end of the season.
I think the March is, state tournament, so in the February.
Regular season will end in February and start with, March Madness. Right. So the transformers, all transformers in the districts have been changed out except for one at Mason Forest Elementary. That is a transformer that's in the ceiling in the front office. So they are going to work Saturday and Monday to get that changed out over Martin Luther King Day. All of the transformers except for that one have been inspected and passed by the electrical inspector. The controls, I don't know if, Mr. Morgan, did you?
I gave them the comments for and the
Colored report, so, you can see on there, the percentages that are, with the controls at this time. But Sherman and the middle school are completed. And, we continue, we've already had 2 training sessions on the controls. And we still have at least 1 or 2 more, to go for that. Next week, we will be, doing, walkthroughs, with performance on all of the water project, all of the envelope that has been, completed, across the district. So, any questions?
Thank you. So there is a pay act we have to approve. They have put a, it's the payment of 669, 923, 18.
I don't think it's on my agenda, so, I guess I need to just put that on the floor. Take action, so, discussion on that.
I make a motion that we pay it.
Yes, Charlotte made a motion.
I'll second it.
You have the A1A contract for the street vestibule on your agenda.
So the next is for the AIIC
Mr. Skip, you're already here.
Well, that's just kind of a formality, isn't it?
And this is the audit tech contract for the pay.
Yeah. And just to tell you where that's at, that's with the mechanical contractors right now. They're doing all the electrical. There is that one glass wall that will be moved out. Well, it won't be moved out, it'll just be redone. And so any electrical, any HVAC around that, will have to be, moved or adjusted. And so, that's what the mechanical contractors are doing at this time. But we still don't have any dates yet on a start. Should be a small project, maybe a month's worth of work. I think next month, Emmett will be here and we can drill him and get some more answers on that. He will have two or three. And he'll present the active plan for this is the contract. We're all doing this with $100,000 security funding from the last legislative session that we were awarded. And we have reviewed the contract, and there's no legal issue with it.
That's what it's going to do, is put a double vestibule for the high school. So we, but in the building, we budgeted for that. building section.
I don't remember seeing a price for that. Was that on?
Current price on the DC one is $103,000.
Oh,
That's what estimated now. So we'll see what it actually is when they do it to bid, but that's their plan. This one goes, $103,000, $3,000 more than we have. Like, how we get, say that. Always. This meeting wants to do a contract with the Hayes Associates.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we accept the AIA agreement.
Your second,
I'll say,
all in favor? The next I see is a board's resolution on
All there is, this is board member appreciation month, so we have Ms. Danielle Haley.
we got cookies, Debbie. Debbie, can you do the cookies?
It is your name on it.
Thank you.
Oh, Danielle's got something.
Where can Charlotte, where can Debbie be?
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, so tonight we recognize hard work. We recognize these 5 individuals: Lisa Smith, Jean Nelson, Charlotte Schmidt, Debbie Rogers, and Loretta Furland, as the decision makers. They are responsible for maintaining strong, effective budgetary oversight, high standards for employment, and a safe, well-managed set of school facilities. They're also serving our community with integrity, honor, and a commitment to our children's futures. Much like the charcuterie board in front of you, created from varying tree species, each of your unique perspectives and experiences have fused together to create our Grant County School Board. Your service to our district and our community is cherished. Thank you for all that you do for Grant County Schools.
You got a cartoon for that? You got a cartoon for that?
What kind of board is it, baby?
A charcuterie board. It's like a neat cheese board. Here's a picture of what it kind of looks like if you decorate it like it's supposed to be used.
Oh, yeah.
But it can also be a butcher block if you want to use it as that.
Foil and.
Yes.
And
Mr.
stuff all over
Chip's
the season entrances. Your son made these girls? Y'all are very welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. So what kind of wood is it? Looks like walnut.
Well, hers is walnut and oak. I believe yours is walnut and oak.
Yeah, very pretty.
Yeah.
Anything special that we have to do to keep it nice?
In that bag, there's some oil in there.
Yeah, oh, okay. Hey.
Telling me thanks.
Thank you.
And made it.
Great. I just thought we got cookies. I didn't.
Let me see it.
I can put that together. Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay, next I see on here is presentations, wellness report card, this is my report.
This can't occur here for that.
Does everybody have their thing?
I know it.
Okay. Sometimes it's easier to look into full fledged, so I brought some copies if anybody wanted. Basically, grading on our food service staff, the last year, what we did last year. We did a lot of good things, even though it was somewhat shortened by starting the pandemic in March. So from August to March, we served 248,777 breakfasts, 375,425 lunches, and a little over 17,000 after-school suppers. We were following an extra-school lunch program there then, so we did breakfast, lunch, and supper. We do follow all the state guidelines and federal guidelines as far as nutrition, calories, sodium, all of that. Our menus are online for parents to see. For parents to see, and then they can look at any like calories or anything they need, and they just have them over their menus. We try to offer fresh, well, we do offer fresh fruit every day. So we've been trying to work with some local farmers, to get as much local stuff as we can. Not always the easiest, but we've had a couple that we've had success with. Just some of the fun things we did last school year was for National School Breakfast Week. We had staff members from the board came and served breakfast in the buildings, which was nice. I always say, sometimes you work in a school district and you never get to see kids. If you work in like payroll, and you never get to see kids. So I think it was appreciated by the administrators and the staff members here that went and served breakfast. At the middle high school, for National School Breakfast Week, we did a cereal eating contest. and it was not pretty. Linda was at the middle, were you at the middle school or the high school? Yeah. But we also had representatives from KBE come for National School Breakfast Week last year. You'll see a couple of pictures, Nathan and Velma, that were there doing it. At the high school, we added another second chance breakfast cart down by the tech center, so the kids didn't have to come all the way up. We were definitely finding they might have been taking advantage of the time they were allotted to come up towards the main and kind of mosey around, so alleviated that. And I think when we first started second chance breakfast, Mr. Madeline was giving them like 20 minutes, it went down to 6. And that was really all they needed. You know, that helped by doing more stations. You'll see we always celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday. That was right before the pandemic. It's March 3rd, so it was like right before the pandemic. So we had some fun with Dr. Seuss things. Some new menu items that were really popular that we're still bringing back this school year. It's like a little Lunchable in our elementaries, where we make pizza kits and little turkey cones and cracker kits. We had a great participation. About 80% of our elementary kids eat lunch. But when I sit out there in the cafeteria, everyone that's not eating lunch bring Lunchable and see why. So, you know, we talk to them, it's like, you know, why do you do that? A lot of them, because they like to get treated in it. They like to put things together themselves. So we just came up with our own Lunchables. So you'll see a picture of that. We tried sushi as a little Friday at the middle and high school. Just trying to expose kids the new things that maybe they probably wouldn't have experience, you know, trying it out. Good. Really well. Really well. We were going to do it at the elementary the next month, and then the pandemic hit. Yeah, but we did get it in the middle of the high school. And so for everyone, you know, some of them had tried it. So in January, we had a luau day. We always try to do something sobering, but it's really cold and nasty out. So we had a luau day, and we had a competition between the schools for the decorating. They did a great job. You know, the menu was all sweet and sour chicken, Hawaiian pizza, pulled pork, so all of Hawaiian theme. As you see, Mr. Morgan got in on the action in the picture there. We did celebrate Farm to School Month last October. We had 2 representatives from the Department of Agriculture come, and the Farm to School rep for the Northern Petty Health Department. We featured Colson's pumpkins, so we roasted pumpkins, and then there's Halloween. Our girls like to do as much as we can. We have a really good relationship and partnership with the library, the Grant County Library. Besides helping us with summer feeding and stuff like that, we try to attend any health fairs they have and do a booth. Last year they had a Touch a Truck program, so we took our Lunch Bus Express there. So they could see it on. Sherman Elementary, Diane Reed and her staff there work with FRC and do a cooking with kids class after hours. We do lots of staff training. I think it's important that we keep developing and showing new ideas. I've got a lot of contacts with vendors, national vendors, where they'll come in and do it for things. And then just try to make our training just fun, innovative, you know, hands-on. You know, we have the fire department and getting spray the extinguisher, you know, all of those kind of things. And then March 5th. and then the pandemic hit. So during our pandemic meeting, which I consider March 16th or August 23rd, I will say we only did not serve one week of that, the week before the July. Other than that, we've had kids the whole time through. When we started, we had great collaboration with the transportation department. We were sending out meals, hot meals every day. It became a lot. You had to do it every day. Other districts, and pretty much now everybody across country are now doing involved meals, or that's not what we started. And that really helped as far as labor and numbers and more people picking up. We did get a lot of waivers from the USDA that allowed us to do that. They're in effect to the end of June. So we know at the end of June, we kind of have that fallback. But as like Mr. Linder figured out today when he sent me December's numbers, you know, we lost $90,000 in the month of December. And that was, the whole high schools was basically all virtual. The 8th grade was all virtual. 4th grade at CMC for kindergarten. You know, so we don't have kids in class. We're not feeding them. We're not getting reimbursed for it. Luckily, we had a great summer. We had huge numbers. So we had a cushion, but you know, it's nervous. Can't do that 10 months. But I mean, I'm confident in Walls. But with the whole hybrid, I'm a little nervous that we'll have to get people pick up on those days that they're not here. But like I said, we had great support with transportation. This play got us plenty of help when we needed it. You know, because everybody was scared in March. They were afraid to come in. You know, the issues with the bus driver, you know, they were in the buildings with them. So we definitely had some people that weren't ready to come in and work and felt like, why am I here? I mean, nobody else in the building's here. And so we went through that, got through all of that. But in the meantime, we just kept feeding. And I'm really proud of our staff for doing it. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I know it's also physical activity, but really didn't have much come in from, you know, PE teachers or health department. But in general, I mean, the district obviously is doing great measures for safety and all of that. So next year, I'm sure will reflect all the great things that we put into place as far as safety and for, you know, our staff and for the kids.
How are we doing hybrid meals?
Please.
How are we going to do meals for the hybrid meals?
So we're gonna pick up on Mondays from 4 to 6, and anybody can pick up, all virtual kids or anyone that was in school. So they'll pick up a week's worth. Anyone under the age of 18. So under summer feeding, it doesn't have to be, you know, kids that are enrolled in school. So that's kind of what helped us with our numbers, especially in the summer. We'll see how it goes. The first one we did 20. Monday after Martin Luther King Day. Yeah. So this Friday is more of their last one, but they can pick up at Eddie's school, and then starting the 25th, they can pick up from 4 to 6. We're doing it out of tri-racial next year. Please. Centrally located, our central freezer is right there. And so it'll be easy, and Jennifer and I will do it out from our office. So I can't see things that actually want to say. We just all have money to it, right? Sorry? We won't. We'll be fine. I really don't think our numbers are going to be that great. I mean, I would love them to be, believe me, I want them to be, and we'll promote it like that. But we either find we do the best when we're all virtual or we're all in school. Okay. And I mean, we do the best we can, and we want the kids here, you know, but we find for our program, we're doing best when everybody's in school and we're, you know, or everybody's virtual. But we'll do the best we can. We'll always go there, I promise you that. Really hard. Thank you.
I mean, that's a lot to put on somebody.
It was a quick turnaround in March, but, you know, we made mistakes. I mean, we did things wrong, and my gosh, you started chicken sandwich 30 days in a row. I had some calls for that out there, you know. But, you know, the girls are amazing. Yeah, and, you know, our staff they do a great job. They haven't complained. They pivoted
10% off, you know, so it's, they've got to be ready for that call. We've had lots of quarantines and lots of things in our building, because unfortunately, when somebody in our kitchen gets it or they're exposed, it's everybody. I mean, just, we try to stay 6 feet apart, they always wear a mask, but, you know, it's just too small of a space to do that. So, and everybody's picked up. Like Mason was quarantined last week and 2 girls from the high school, but, you know, so everybody knows they love them. I make the call, you know, I need 2 here, I need 1 here, you know, they're welcome.
I have to tell you that I worked a food truck from Cincinnati's, the food bank from Cincinnati. They came out on Monday, and I went to all the schools and I sent out, you know, I gave, Elizabeth and everybody they notified. We had 60 people that came through for food, but I have to tell you that none that I saw there were children, because you guys are carrying that. You are taking care of the kids in this county, so they are getting their food through the school. The people that came through this line were elderly, single adults, homeless. We had homeless people, but the children are fed.
Yeah.
Which
We'll
I
make sure
attribute
they will
totally to you.
Yeah, we will make sure that we'll figure out some way somehow, but we will get with that. You know. So. Does anybody have any questions? Hopefully next school year, normal stuff again, but it was, first of all, it actually from August to March it was a really good school year too. I mean, we did some fun things, kids had fun, our staff had fun, and that's what we're here for. We not just have fun to feed the kids, but to make it enjoyable. Yeah, a good atmosphere, a good product.
Thank you.
Got her.
All right, Harold, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
Okay, this is Harold Kramer from Barnes and Denny, and he's going to give us a report on the audit for last fiscal year.
Very good, thank you, Matt.
And I've been called a lot of dirty words, but
That's how the rest of there's a call, right?
Well, I can't see Brian, I can see Matt, I can't see Brian.
We hide you.
Each of you get a copy of my report. I'm going to share my screen, and share my screen, and share my screen, and share my screen. That's the same. Yeah, that's the report. I don't have a copy of that. I just have the
You can share now if you want, you should be able to.
Okay, I'll try to do that. Are you seeing report on the screen? I don't see report on the screen.
Yeah. Revenue over expenses, yeah.
Anyway, I'll use that first, but I'm not sure what exactly you're seeing. But first and foremost, thank you for choosing Barnes and Denny to be your auditor again this year. I know some of you are familiar. I've been down there a few years to present our audit results, and thanks for choosing us again this year. So our scope, we do an audit of the financial statement standards. And, also because you get more than $750,000 of federal funds, we also do a single audit, which requires us to audit a major federal program each year. So that's the scope. Some of the required communications, these financial statements are responsibility of management. We do an audit and, we take a risk-based approach and test what we believe is necessary, but we don't test everything. So ultimately, these financial statements are your responsibility. We do look at internal controls, but this is not an internal control engagement. So we don't give a separate opinion about internal control. This is an audit of financial statements. So I'll move on to the next page. The executive summary is kind of the important part of the presentation. Really high level, great audit, everything went well. Thank you to Matt, Brian, and Brian's group there. Everything went well. They were cooperative and we're very thankful. So, the overall, we issued a clean opinion on the financial statements and the modified report. That's the best you can get. We also on the major federal program, we issued a clean opinion. So both good news. Like I said, it's a cooperation. No disagreements about anything during the audit. If there were consultations with other accountants, I'll tell you about that, but there were none. No significant accounting policies to discuss. Any set of financial statements has estimates in it. The base estimate for your financial statements is probably the commercialized buildings and assets, meters, all that kind of stuff. But we look over those lines and methods and feel that they're reasonable. Didn't have any reportable internal control matters that leads to significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, and that's really good news. So, and also, we did not become aware of any fraud or illegal acts. So, that's the executive summary. That's, like I said, the most important page, and it's all good news. So, I'm going to go through the rest of this relatively quickly because I know you guys had a long meeting already. So, on the next page, audit adjustments, we didn't have any audit adjustments. So, that's forecast adjustments. So, that's more good news. That means things were in good order when we got there. These next few slides, we just like to look at trends and look at anything that seems unusual year to year. In this first one, statement of positions, trends district-wide, you can see the assets and current outflows are pretty darn close to liabilities to the current inflows, really for the last 3 years, which means on a district-wide basis, a very little net position. You can see it's even actually very, very slight negative in this current year, but very, very close to zero each year. On the next page, it's called district-wide net position analysis. It breaks the net position down into 3 categories. The investment capitalized assets, which has climbed a little bit each year. The restricted and then the unassigned. The restricted is a big negative, and then that became negative a few years ago when the district needed to record its portion of pension benefits and other post-employment benefits, and that's what caused it to go negative in this restricted area, and it's gotten harder each year because each year, as you know, you're taking on more of that responsibility for next slide I have here is revenue over expenses district-wide. This was from 2016 through 2018, kind of consistently climbing in revenues were above expenses there in 2018. And then you see a big drop. And really, that is totally related to, again, the pension and the employment benefits. For that obligation, we rely on actuaries. And the actuaries changed the assumptions in 2019, which that's certainly caused the drop in the revenue expenses and how we report those pension benefits. And 2020 was pretty similar to 2019. And let's see here. So now I'm on a page called balance sheet trends, general fund. As you can see, the trend is downward with assets. Liabilities have stayed fairly constant. Dropped from $1 billion down to about $500,000 in 2017, and it stayed at that level. But the assets themselves have dropped pretty consistently each year, and are down around the $2 million level in general fund. Resulting in that lower fund balance there to the right. The general fund does not include the pension and other post-employment benefits. So this is more, I'll say, stuff you can control a little bit. But this drop in assets is just due to expenses exceeding revenues in the past couple of years. Even though our income has gone up, our revenues have gone up, our expenses have gone up even more, and that's salaries, benefits, et cetera. So that's what's causing the drop in cash primarily on the balance sheet. A few more slides on here. The revenues over expenses in general fund kind of shows how the expenses have gone up. And some of that may be COVID related. The expenses going up this year. You can see that kind of kick up there in 2020. And revenues have stayed fairly constant, actually down a little bit. We're going to talk about the revenue sources here next. With that increase in expenses and revenues staying the same or being lower is what, like I said, causing the decrease in assets. My source, your biggest source of revenue is the state. Revenues from your state, including on behalf payments they make for you, to the pension and other post-employment benefits. The blue line there on around the $5 million level, that's tax revenue. So the state funds the tax revenue make up all of your income. Small amounts down below for some other federal money or on investments, et cetera. But then the big money comes from taxes and state funds. And then the last one here just is food and service. We look at the revenues of food service and various expenses. And actually, in 2020, they were pretty darn close to the same. And kind of a break-even situation. You see expenses last year were higher than revenue, but expenses were maintained and revenues were increased this year. So, a nice trend there. So, I will stop sharing and ask if there are any questions. I'm happy to take any questions. Like I said, everything went well, and some of the trends are quite well, some not so well, but I just like to kind of go over those and let everybody know where everything is.
I'm fine.
No, we can move on further on screen.
I would prefer everyone's agreeable. Comments from the public, is there any public there that wants to make a comment?
No public.
Next I have consent agenda.
Jerry, I don't think on your copy that you have, I've added a maternity leave for a Mason staff member.
Oh, okay. Mason's family. No, I don't have that on there. Can y'all see that on your orders? Any discussion about that? Any questions on that?
Make a motion to approve it. Make a motion to approve it.
Go ahead, Jean. She did. Oh. What he said, right? Yeah, he said he makes the motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor? Are we now on the consent agenda, Linda?
I did.
That's it.
You're on the claims now.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, roll call claims. Any discussion on claims? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the claims?
I'll make the motion to accept the claims.
Thank you, Maureen, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Local superintendent travel. Any discussion? I have a motion to accept the superintendent travel.
I'll make the motion. Okay. I'll second.
All in favor? Then I have recommended action for the 2021-2022 work session for meeting dates, locations.
We have a copy on the packet. Proposed dates.
There is, but
We have a copy right here. And it mirrors, this past year's calendar. So have it on the second Thursday of the month, the regular meeting, the first Thursday being the work session, with some movement to the holiday. For example, there's no work session in July, and in the October work session. And then the January work session would be the third one, like, going to have this time for our cycle.
Did you change the deal with KSBA?
We have not changed that yet, it's going to be the first one right now.
Did somebody say they didn't have a copy of it?
Sorry, do you have a copy?
yes, the answer is July. Unless they just, unless they change the last email about the weeks that they're on.
Okay. Good enough.
You haven't read it today, but.
Again, this calendar does reflect a similar number of departments. Everybody can still do Thursdays as the current law.
I'll be here unless you want.
Any questions about calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Gee, you are falling.
Come on. Okay.
I like the colors.
No, it's not in. Correct. Okay, the first thing you have in your packet, okay, Debbie, you won't have this, but, the first thing is the list, the LPC number. You know, every 4 years, you have to do a local planning committee. Made up of school members, community members, so every facility, and develop a 4-year plan that you all approve, and you send to the state on a facility. So the first step to that is approving the members of the committee, and you have a list here with, I'm part of the committee, so there's Mr. Ship, Ms. Harrell is the central office member, and Ms. Smith is the board member of that committee. So the process would be, you would be able to approve this committee tonight, send it off for approval by KDE, and then we would start the process to review facilities and develop a plan for this committee on our, how we're going to meet our needs in the next 4 years. Those needs in the district. So the first step is to approve members to be come up here for the committee. This is all based on a formula based on how many schools we have at KDE. So we follow that formula. Mr. Shipley will time members, heading up and be a few bushes, but he has got all necessary members. We have a motion to accept membership.
Okay. I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to accept the 2021 local planning committee. I'll second.
Gee, you're so used to it.
Yeah, it's always on it. Okay.
All right, thank you. I have a few things to talk about. Of course, Debbie, you won't have any of this stuff, but this you hand out. First off, we talk about school a little bit. We're moving through our hybrid plan as of this coming Tuesday. So if you have a breakdown of the schools about what hybrid is going to look like in the building. You're going to see a little bit of difference between high school, middle school, and elementary schools. They describe what their models are going to be and how they're going to accomplish our next phase of our activities we've done this year. You see everything from secret construction, where things will be going on, to intense instruction when they're in person, with activities when kids are not in school that they can do on their own on the computer at times, because they want to imagine on Excel, and those things that they can do more independently until the meetings begin. So that's for your review. We're all anxiously awaiting our kids on Tuesday. We are going to give it our best shot. We're making a really good plan. Scott has it all worked out as far as how we're going to pick up kids and get everyone where they need to go. And barring no unforeseen quarantines that are impact us, we are ready to roll. But we are at the mercy of COVID, even in a hybrid model. As an example, this past week, we had 6 custodial staff members in quarantine for various reasons at various times. So a large outbreak or quarantine can affect our ability to effectively clean the buildings. That said, last week we had a quarantine situation down at Basic Park Elementary, where we had to shift people around, do the meals on distribution down there, so things like that may have an impact, and or definitely will have an impact on our ability to have in-person school in those areas. And we do have some teachers in quarantine that will be teaching remotely, even though we are in person. Well, the first phase of that is happening now. This coming Saturday, we're doing our first round of vaccinations with our staff. We have 300 of our staff members who are signed up to go down to St. Eve, Maryland, to get the first round of Pfizer vaccine. There's another 46 who can't make it, that will have to work with St. Eve, see if they, when they can, get their vaccine. That's a possibility. So within 3 to 6 weeks, we hope we'll have over half our staff vaccinated. That's the first part. And then as what they look at the community numbers and see if they decrease, if they want to go down, the quicker they go down, the quicker we get vaccinated, the quicker we can get back to in-person instruction 5 days a week. So I know that some counties are pushing back, going to a hybrid schedule. I saw a couple that are, we're going to go back with us next week. They've already decided to stay virtual next week. But we're going to start with our in-person, give her that shot, and then monitor the numbers, make decisions based on that. As quickly as the numbers are, let us tell us we can go back 5 days a week, we're going to go back 5 days a week. That's what's best for our students. I wish I could give you a definite date, but I don't know. Sorry.
I said, how can we go 5 days a week, we don't have one bus driver?
Well, here's our latest issue on that. While we're doing hybrid, we're going to be doing counts on our buses and see what our ridership is. Scott has got an idea that if a ridership is a certain level, that we can complete the year without having to go to the staggered start. If we can stay below, I think, 2,400 riders on buses, we can get done with our current staff, assuming that we don't have an outbreak. So we'll be making some counts there. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed and we get through the rest of the year with our current staff and not have to pivot another time to a different schedule. We've had in person, we've had virtual, and we're going to have hybrid. We don't want to go to a staggered start if we cannot, if we're going to win it. Well, as the orders that we've got, and we have to follow CDC guidelines in order to operate in person. And right now, the guidelines are for us to be 6 feet apart and maintain space and everything else. So we physically cannot maintain the guidelines we have to follow with everybody back in the building. In order for us to maintain what they are recommending, we can have about 15 kids in a room. And when we go back to 5 days a week, that's not possible in just about any classroom we can. It's based on what your buildings can handle and what you have available for space as far as the classrooms.
Which counties are taking them all back?
Yeah, I don't know of any county that's taken everybody back. There are, as an example, like Williamstown, they have K-2 are coming back 5 days a week because their numbers, they can space everybody out at those grade levels. But from grades 3 through 12, they're going to do a hybrid model. Most of the counties around here are doing some form of hybrid whether it be a 3-2 or a 2-2 and a virtual. I don't know if anybody's doing 5 days a week with all their kids. Everybody's doing some form of aggressive, we're calling it aggressive hybrid. So I don't know what that means, but that means for us, instead of going with everybody in the classroom, we're breaking it down to where we're maintaining social distance of 6 feet, basically cutting our attendance in half or our in-person attendance in half. I don't believe Kenny County's go back 5 days a week. My niece and nephew are there, and they're still on a 3-2 hybrid. Maybe some of the elementary, maybe going back at some grade levels, but the numbers we have in elementary, we would not be able to do that across the board. There'll be some classes we probably feel they're at like 12 or 13 in right now, but most of our elementary classes at 20, 24, and there's just no way to put all the little bodies in there 6 feet apart.
We're giving adult shots in our staff,
Yes.
but none of the kids do.
No, the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine, it can be 16 up for Pfizer, that's the 18 up for Moderna. So right now, nobody can get those except teenagers that were available. But right now, there's now limit to 1B as far as what we get the vaccine.
So we're strictly relying on the kids going home, not getting anywhere that they can get.
Correct. Paying the stuff that they at the school level.
Yeah.
Wearing their mask and doing sanitation like
Yeah.
they do in their.
Can't get them to do it at Walmart.
I mean, as the vaccines right now, you know, my webinar on Tuesday, statewide, we get 50,000 doses a week. And so the amount of doses we're going to need to do just the education staff across the state is 2 full weeks of those doses. Alone in North Kentucky alone, it's I say 9,000 staff members across all the county.
You said that we gotta adjust the schedule for Saturday. And does that make more space for more people to get in?
To work everybody in, we had to go, we were going to go 8 to 12, now we're going 8 to 1, because us and Williamstown are going up this Saturday. We're the first group of, we're kind of like getting pigs, make sure how the process works, to see how we can organize it together. So we learned a lot last couple of days, didn't we, Danielle?
Oh, yes.
One day to next week, we were going up there, so we've made the process. When we go up for our second dose, and to organize that, it'll be a lot smoother on our end. So
When's our next shot?
it'll be in 3 weeks. First Saturday in February. Assuming we get up there and they told us to get the Pfizer vaccine, if they take, which is the Moderna vaccine, that'll be 4 weeks. So they said they were going to do a Pfizer as long as they had it. They're planning on having it. So
Can you,
no, once you get Pfizer, you got to get Pfizer.
once you do one, you get to stay with that? Okay.
So hopefully this is gets us one step closer to being back in person this year. I wish I had a drop dead date for it, but I don't.
Some of our students didn't go live physically versus the rest of the individual every other day and then every other Friday. Has that been discussed any further or talked about? I feel like that's kind of the situation where some of our children are getting favoritism or getting a little bit of boost versus the other part of our population.
We haven't discussed that, but like I said before, it is a perk for our kids, our staff members to have their children there. They won't be getting a boost, so to say, because as you do what we're doing at different levels. As for example, for high school, the instruction will be the same whether you're there or virtual. We're going to keep going on. At elementary levels, you'll have intense instruction on the in-person day, and you'll be given assignments to do on the day that you're not there, along with work. So the only difference is the teacher's kid or the staff member's kid, the bus driver, who may be, we sit in the classroom working on work that's different from what the persons who were there on that Tuesday. For example, if we went, our teachers did it on Monday, they have work for Tuesday, and the kids who come in on Tuesday, a person will have work that the person has had on Monday. So they won't be getting ahead, they'll have different assignments, and they're physically doing it in one of our buildings rather than at home. Our kids are currently in the buildings right now, so that's our solution for our staff and kids. And it's not just teachers' kids, it's bus drivers, custodians, food service, all.
But basically, the kids that are going on Monday, and they're there on Tuesday, they're gonna get the same lesson again that they heard on Monday. They're gonna be doing their work in class, but we're gonna be doing the same thing they heard on Monday. So the only really benefit actually they're gonna get is if they have a question, they can go ask the teacher right there in person versus having to do an email or a Zoom meeting with the teacher. But the lesson, they're gonna hear it twice, basically.
And all of our schools are making,
Kids aren't gonna like that.
all of our schools are making options for office hours for our teachers to make contact in some way, shape, or form with the ones who are virtual. So if you're there on Monday, you'll have an office hour to talk to your teacher at elementary school on that Tuesday at some point. Yeah, I could add anything with curriculum. Everybody pretty much except the curriculum.
They just have to get up the next day.
Correct. They're actually going to be in person all 5 days. Now, not everybody's going to do that in the high school. But you have some kids who are going to come on the day they're supposed to and be personal the day that, but that's one thing, right? Or someone had projects, maybe.
If they're doing Mondays in the class, Tuesdays are virtual, if they go to school, because their mother or father's there, they'll be virtual in school too, but they got their own computer to work. So that is, they're working on their work, and their parents are teaching the same Tuesday that's taught Monday. And they're really not.
In the elementary school especially, but in the high school and middle school, they're going to keep going on. You might, those kids will hear it in person all 5 days, whereas some people that are, they're in person.
They're not getting the added benefit. So, I just don't, I know that you know what you've done, but I really think it's an option that will have more because I feel like we have one of our population that's really, I get to share here because we're not getting that extra, support.
It's only on the kids though.
Yes.
Debbie, to maybe help answer the question that you originally asked, when can they come back? I don't know if those are fully answered, but a lot of it depends on kind of what you said, the color of the county, the incident rate in the county, and also on the vaccines or things that they take in order that go away once teachers are vaccinated. So those are the two big things that a lot of these districts, including Grant County, are looking at and waiting for. Hopefully, it won't be too long before they can start bringing a lot of people back in person. But those are the two big things that they're waiting on. We're all waiting on them.
That's our big hope. And we'll get them back as soon as we can. Because Miss Clay and Miss Wright won't staff any longer than what they have to. Or Miss Garrett, who's not here tonight. They're very focused about getting our kids back in classroom as much as we can. We've had some interesting discussions about that happening. A couple other things, I don't know if you can maybe see these behind. These are our graphic for our Blue and Gold Day, and we'll have throughout part of our buildings to show what day is Blue Day, what day is Gold Day, another presentation of what day it is. So
the mayor drives up and sees the blue and it's supposed to be on the right.
yeah, and then that's turn around. Of course, we'll have to be kind of provided that buses don't go down every road every day. So that will help out. Here's another one. We have on our website. We have it everywhere to show what day is Blue Day, what day is Gold Day, and we're going to keep to that. So we have a snow day. If we have a snow day on Blue Day, Next day it's gonna be a goal day, we're not gonna mess the calendar up. Odds are, it's all gonna wash out. We're gonna start a hybrid on goal day, since it's a Tuesday. So,
So is your population fairly equal for political?
for the most part, we had to do some movement around, we try to do like an east-west based on 25, but some, the way our population worked out, we had to move some people around. At the high school and middle school, we tried to move more people that were non-transported, that would help out. And we tried to move families, so it was all consistent. So you would have a high school going on a cold day, elementary or middle going on a blue day. They kept it all the same. I know some districts did it by grade level, we did it by more or less by location, trying to keep it. We are very close, and for example, the high school is like 30 different. I think there's like 410 in blue and 440 in blue. So we're pretty close. The other thing that I have, what's the name on Brian, you have right here a breakdown of the budget. We're talking about finance and the audit. Here's a breakdown of the budget bill. You all saw the state of the Commonwealth. Governor Bashir put quite a bit of money into education. Things like a guaranteed rate of $1,000 per employee, things like that. Basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, the House and the Senate basically all that stuff out and got rid of it. And this is their version of the bill. As an example, they talk about, look on the bottom of this spreadsheet, the teacher raises, the classified raises, they're not going to put those in a separate line item like Governor Bashir did. They're going to be put into the general fund for C. So they're going to give you a cash amount, and we figure it out. So they'll in detail on that, things like that. So, and you see they made some adjustments to some of the nickel funding. So, as you recall, last year we got an increase. We had 2 nickels that were equalized. Last year we got a third nickel equalized 25%. We'll see if that carries through next year. I'll see some red numbers on equalization, so I'll see how that impacts us.
So this is already passed by.
No, this hasn't been passed. The House and Senate did not agree, so that goes to the concurrence committee. All I can say is that this is not really like what the governor wants. So, much of what he said, while some people in there, they take it back out or rearrange it in a different way. So will be some talk once we see what board numbers are for the March about if they do put the money in for raises, how much do we actually get and what does that translate to?
I kind of believe that what you see is probably what you're going to get, because the Senate, if you look at the two, so how this works is the governor gives his budget, it's just an address, there's no such bill, that has to originate in the House. House Bill 194, which is the executive budget, was passed, I believe, on Monday, which is what you see here, and then it goes over to the Senate, and then they put what is called the Senate committee sub on top of it, which changes the House budget. Then they pass that, then that goes back over to the House because it's a different bill now. And they either have to concur or not concur, which they did not concur. And they did that on Wednesday. So what that allowed them to do is set up a conference committee, because they're in a break now until the 1st of February, where they don't meet. But this conference committee will meet, so when they come back, they'll be able to pass the budget quickly. I'll tell you why in a second. But if you look at the two budget bills, there's very little difference between them. And on the education side, there was no difference. So what's in the Senate budget is exactly what was in the House budget. So I don't think you're going to see much changes if they've already agreed on that. They're probably going to pass it really quick when they come back, because they'll make sure they leave some time to override the bill in the meantime. Because he can sit on it for 2 to 10 or 14 days before he has, if he doesn't veto in a certain period of time, it becomes law. So he can sit on it, so they're going to pass it enough time to where he has to force his hand either let it become law or veto it, and then they still have some days left to override his veto. But the Senate version and the House version of the education bill, budget bill, was the exact same. So I think what you see here is probably what it's going to be, which is very similar to what the budget, am I right, the budget they passed last year, very similar. It's almost a continuation of what the budget they passed last year.
But they are putting money in budget that for teacher raises, class raises, and we'll see how that translates to us when we actually do the permanent budget. The governor put $1,000 per person per employee. I don't know if that would be the case when we get this actual money here. Because I'll put this.
So where does that money, 3.4 million that you were telling us about?
That's down here is a little bit. So
Okay,
that's not.
all right.
The other part of what I had was last year we had the CARES Act, which was the stimulus money we got to help pay for all the COVID related items and our technology. Well, that was broken into two parts. Remember, there was the ESSER part and the year part. So CARES had ESSER and year. We had ESSER fund and year fund. Now we have CRISA, KRSSA, like one fancy one, but that's the next version. So we have ESSER 2 and year 2. So last spring, we got $800,000 in ESSER fund and ESSER 1. Now we have ESSER 2, and that's going to be the $3.4 billion federal dollars that we can use for COVID relief and also to get through the pandemic and to help recover from the pandemic. So we can cover expenses from March of 2020 all the way up to September of 2023 with ESSER 2. Now there's going to be a year 2 funding as well. They don't know how it's going to be put out yet. They know ESSER 2, they gave us that amount, 3.4 million. We'll have training on, or training, but there'll be more information on that, how we use that. What they said is it's pretty broad, how we spend it. We need to cover some of our expenses for COVID, like giving COVID days or bringing in stuff when they can work at home, paying for our nurses' time. There's things we can do for that. And also we can look at it to, once we do get out of this pandemic, whatever that may be, on how we can recover from it. As I talked with the principal about here we had a meeting with elementary principals last week. We talked about, we have to look at this as about an 18 to 24 month recovery from COVID. Closing, we actually had that gotten bigger during this time. So this money that we get from the federal government is the funding mechanism that we can use to kickstart that. Talk about things like how we can do a different kind of summer school, how we can put more interest in the school systems or in the school buildings for reading recovery, things like that. Programs we can do to bring our kids up to speed once we are back to 5 days a week. So that's one top that we're looking at getting. We're also talking about we're going to be receiving increased Title money and also increased money for special education in this latest round of funding. I can read the news. There's going to be another COVID relief bill coming out that's going to include more money for school supposedly. So we having quite a bit of funds coming through from the federal government. What you're teaching how to use that to help us recover from this and how to get our kids back where they should be. Ms. Wright was attending a webinar, and they talked about how New Orleans and Louisiana recovered from Hurricane Katrina, taking lessons from that. So that's how we think, how we can recover from this and get our kids back on the footing. So we will have lots of money coming up, and we'll have to be, like I said, very strategic how we spend it.
You have to look down the line.
And maybe find some how we want to keep those, close those gaps, and what's the best way to do that.
Do we have a Teaching for America program in Franklin?
Teach for America, no.
I see they put some money in that.
Yes, that's more of the application reason my niece taught for 2 years in that program. So now she's up in this area, and that was a teaching program. She did her commitment down in Floyd County. Now she's up here. One last thing I got for you as far as money goes. The Bi-County co-op in Northern Kentucky has dissolved. And because it's dissolved, our high school received a check for a little over $49,000, $49,169 that the FFA can use for post-secondary scholarships for students interested in FFA, or agriculture. So that was a nice, notice we got this week.
Why did it evolve?
They just went out of business, and so they would put the funds that they had and gave it to local school districts to help promote, agriculture education in, we have a pretty good program, we have a pretty good time. Yeah. I do have to be in every once in a while. And that's all we have for now. But we have the board committee assignment, we need to do that as well.
I need a copy of that.
Linda has that right now. If you want us to make a copy, I can skip the DPP, discussion of the council committee on the DPP tonight.
You are.
Yes, as you all know, we have a calendar committee every year to talk about the school calendar for the next year. So part of the calendar committee is a board member who would like to be part of all that calendar committees for this
I
coming
was
year.
on it last year, I'll do it again. Sure.
Gene said he would do it again, though, if y'all wanted to, so.
I guess so. You wanna do it again?
Sure.
Sure.
All right, I'll let Ms. Carroll know.
I need to write that down.
Okay. I got one. I got one. You got anything else on that?
That all I have is the calendar committee, you have the rest of the standing committees that you need to be part of, on that sheet there, so.
Okay, well, I'm on listed as legislative last time, and I'll take that again. And if you want to just listen for a second. There's a bill being, put forth by Ed Massey from Boone County. Anybody know about this?
Which one, all about the pension bill?
The pension bill. I talked to somebody that works, that goes with Frankfurt a lot. So I said, you explain this to me. And this bill is very concerning to the teachers because it could affect the retention of the teachers that you have and your ability to get new teachers if they're interested in the pension. This bill, Ed Massey, if you know him, he was on the school board, he was the president of the school board association 1 year. So he's very astute when it comes to, he's from Boone County. He knows what he's doing as far as the schools are concerned. And he and Kim Banta, who was a supervisor in Boone County, she is a legislator now. But this bill, if 80% of the bill will keep what the teachers already have, will keep the defined benefits and all the other things that they have. The 20% of that bill changes it to part of a 401k plan for new teachers. It's not a complete 401k, but it's a partial. Teachers would have input as to how they invested their money. If they thought they could do a better job than KRTA, they could invest it themselves. Personally, I think that's a big mistake, but if you think you're good at it, good. They said the average teacher, I find this really high, but the average new teacher is 31 years old. Seems like it would be young. But the average new teacher is 31. and the average end teacher is 59. If you were to stay, that averages out to about 28 years, 27, 28 is what you can retire at now. If they were to extend this bill would give you incentives to stay past 60. Each year you stay past 60 years old, you would be getting bigger incentives, and it could be possible that you would be getting a larger pension that you would get now. But you have to keep staying there until you're 65 or 70.
Social Security, same thing.
Yeah, right. Okay. A fund, they're thinking about doing a special fund from, I don't know where this money's gonna come from. Maybe from the retirement that you have to pay. But they would create this fund, and that would be a holding fund in case the state were to get less money, or they would find themselves in a situation where they couldn't pay into the act. So, if the state fell short, then this money would be in this fund and it would be paid toward the pension fund. Senator Thayer has not approved this bill because it came out of the House. So he hasn't given his yes or no on that at all. Nima, if you are familiar with that lady, she's the head of the group called 120 Strong. She had a thing last night where she went and talked to Ed Massey and Kim Banda. She said they were very professional. They reached out to them to discuss this bill because they wanted the teachers to have input into what was happening. She felt good about that. She's not real positive about the bill and isn't too keen on having teachers having on a 401k thing. But at least they are willing to talk about it, and they aren't just saying, here's what we decided, take it, eat it, you don't get any say, because that's how we felt before. I don't know where this will go. I don't know if it'll even pass this time, but this man that I spoke to that goes to Frankfurt a lot said if it isn't picked up now, look for it, some kind of version of that to come in the future, because they're still trying to figure out a way that the state isn't committed so heavily to this pension. Okay? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
To answer your question, I just didn't understand. Did I understand right that the teacher's main concern was retention? Did I mishear you or when you first started?
Say again?
I know we couldn't retain teachers because of changing the pension system.
Okay, I'm with you.
Retain them by giving them.
I'm with you, I just misunderstood.
Okay,
I'm with you.
yeah. And what they're trying to do is have you work longer.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people have the misconception that teachers get to retire in their 40s.
Yeah.
That
I
is
just
very,
misunderstood. I'm with you.
okay, so most teachers work till they're 59. That's the average.
Right.
And so they're trying to get you to extend that, but whatever.
So we have legislative committee.
Okay, yeah, I'll stay on that. And if you want me to, I'll be on that committee. Do you have to fill these other committees?
Yeah. Does anybody have a copy of that? Okay. Yeah, so that's right.
I'll keep it. I've had it for about 5 years.
That's not understandable. You gonna stay on that one?
But that's fine, I can stay on that one.
Did you only look on?
Yeah, if I work schedule, one that I'll do.
And then this, LPC was Charlotte last time.
No, what is that?
It's our own planning visit. You
That's the planning committee, so are you still on that, Charlotte?
Yeah, we just did that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the verdict on that?
Yes, that's a yes. She'll stay. She's on it already.
Don't work that way.
And in the district planning committee, I was on that. I'm willing to stay on that.
Did you do anything on it?
No.
What's the difference between the LPC and the district planning?
Obviously, it's not, it's 4 years.
And then the district?
That's more than curriculum related.
Then we have the review committee. What's this review committee do?
What do they do?
For usually, I think only is for controversial or things that you.
Yeah, you
Like,
change that one up. Some policy that needs to be committee comes in, sets it out, to decide the case.
Did you do very much on that?
Huh?
Were you all busy last year?
There's not a whole lot done on it, it don't usually get that far. But it's there and it's still neat. I can
So
do
I
it.
was going to suggest, I'm not going to be able to do GSP. My daughter will be a junior next year. So I really would not be appropriate for me to judge.
I
So
would,
I will have to step out of that.
I would like to trade a GSP for a foundation, maybe,
For what, Charlotte?
for the foundation, for Grant County,
What is
foundation.
it? Okay. Should we decide on someone for the review committee?
I don't think we need.
I always do the TSP, even though I'm not on the committee. I do a part of it. Nancy always asks me to do part of it, but you know, that doesn't matter to me. You've never done it?
No, but I would like to.
Yeah. You can, you'll go through, are you doing that, Mary? Mary?
Yeah.
The TSP? Oh, yeah, I know. Wait a minute, I'll take that off there. You're gonna do like Nancy did?
Yes, I did. Debbie did that, and I asked Lisa to help me a little bit this year because I needed more help.
Okay. You know, that breaks down into so many sections.
Mm-hmm.
And so a couple of us should really be on that.
Yeah.
Because not, you never judge just one part. Like, it's very comprehensive. So, yeah.
Yep.
Especially if we have a lot of people that are contending for it.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes a long time to do it too. And I write a lot. So, it depends, so, maybe both of us could do that.
And Lisa said she.
You wanna do that too, Lisa?
I just do what they know I do is review packets. I don't think necessarily if I'm on committee.
That's what I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they don't do the reviews. So I don't know if I necessarily should be on the committee, but it's supposed to be the reviews. So,
So basically, Nancy would give me a packet of,
See, she did it too.
Yep.
So I guess we all do it.
I got a packet of the, what volunteer, what the students have volunteered. That's
Service.
Right,
what I have been evaluating for the last quite a few years.
right.
And I'm anticipating my daughter will apply, so that's why I'm doing this.
Well, let's
Charlotte on the committee, if you need help with people to review, that's kind of the committee, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
well, what, Charlotte, you want to be on there? Put Charlotte's name.
No, I've never done that, and it seems very interesting. I talked to Nancy about it, but I never did anything. I was on the foundation. Foundation is pretty interesting also.
What is it? I'm on that Hall of Fame, which I never did anything because I was never sure what to do with. And because she told me it has to be somebody that is not an old person Hall of Fame. It's a kid that's there now, which doesn't make sense to me.
That hasn't been updated in a very long time, from my understanding.
Because the person in charge didn't know what she was doing.
You would
So-
all things.
So according to what Nancy explained, do you understand it? You don't either.
There's a process nowadays for an individual.
I really think we honestly probably need to rethink that program altogether, because it's not functional, we haven't done it in years. There has to be some other recognition that we can do besides that, because that's really not.
Based on what it is, if you stay qualified or a state winner in some academic or athletic.
You know what you ought to make that into, instead of saying Hall of Fame? Put that as part of that golden apple thing for the KSBA, and that's directed toward the kids. You know how they do that? And they give awards, because that's sort of new with KSBA. And we never got anybody that was awarded for that. But if we diverted it to somebody like that, then we might get some people that we could nominate for that. What about that? Could we do that?
Where you go call
Golden apple.
it? That's fine with me. I just need a name to write down.
Or put a student,
Send a team, we're still achievement award, probably one that gets me.
okay, just call it an achievement award, student achievement award. What about that? Okay.
That's fine.
It's not like a athletic award, okay?
Well, Hall of Fame wasn't necessarily in sports, it was academics or.
Right, and it was,
I don't know, always didn't actually go up to something like a Mr. Brave or like a Mr. Brave, Miss Brave kind of thing or something, so that you could really recognize two people for something that they accomplished or whatever. Whether it be academics.
Had different levels of the Hall of Fame part for, like, it's a national state competition, so that's what restricted, we can look at it.
I mean, I think we need to like back it down a little bit to where we can actually accomplish what the award is for. Because this one to me was like so far off that nobody really ever applied for it.
I think they said the last time anyone was ever honored was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
You want that, Lisa?
no, let me take that. Cause she's, or Lisa, you don't have any, yes, you do.
She's got one.
Debbie, you wanna do something? Where'd you go?
She's got the district planning committee.
She had it. Yeah, the foundation chooses the distinguished, Grant County alumni person plus, disperse that fund for the children that were killed in the car wreck. They choose, how they're gonna spend some of that money that the firefighters collected.
it's a scholarship.
Pulls in community people. And they manage the money that, children left to the foundation. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to switch you on that, you know, if that's okay with everybody else.
Yeah.
You wanna do the foundation?
Yeah, I'll do the foundation, I'll put your little GSP.
Yeah. And then we got that new one. Lisa, how do you and I do that one?
Well, it doesn't matter, I think we just need to get rid of what I'm gonna together right now and decide if we're gonna come up with something new.
Okay, and then maybe we'll just talk about it?
Yeah, and then next year have a better plan of what it needs to be. Maybe
Okay.
work with Danielle this year.
And we'll work with Danielle.
So you're racing all things.
So we don't know what it is, but it will be something new.
This is not,
Great.
it's not how I think it is, but really don't need it.
Okay, let's just work together.
Something else, yeah.
Now work. Okay, okay, we're gonna take on that, wait a minute. Here. We're gonna take that, committee, and we're gonna, Lisa and I are gonna work with Danielle. And we're gonna work together to decide what that needs to be. But we don't think, yeah, it's not gonna be Hall of Fame, it's gonna be something different.
Something to do with student achievement and not.
It'll be
that level.
more, something we can
Achievable.
actually use. Okay, that sounds good.
Jean, you stay on the review committee?
Huh?
Did you say you would stay on the review committee? That's what I have written down.
Yeah, Title IX review committee and calendar.
So what I have is legislative Lori, Title IX Jean, OTEC steering committee Lisa, LPC Charlotte, district planning Debbie, review Jean, the student achievement would be Lisa, Loretta, and Lori.
Yeah.
GSP is Charlotte, foundation is Debbie Rogers, and then calendar is Jean.
That sounds good.
Okay, can you hear me okay, Debbie? I know you can't see me.
We turn the camera on if you want,
Where's the camera? I don't see one.
look behind her.
Oh, well, she only see my little there. Before we start on the draft budget, let's not quickly go over the finance report. You should have it. Just kind of give you an update on taxes collected versus last year. We've kind of hit our 3 big months. Anybody who's paying their property taxes now or delinquent will have that trickle in. But the 3, or really the 2 big months we have are November for taxes collected for the discount in October, and then January with people paying them at the deadline on December 31st. In 2019, we collected $5.7 million. In 2020, we collected $6.1 million. So I think there was some concern with the pandemic that there would be some issues with people paying property taxes. So what it is we collected more this year than we did last year. So that's probably good news. If you look at the expenses, the ending balances, you'll see they're pretty much identical. So we, in the month of December, pretty much brought in what we spent. So that's also a good thing. If you saw Harold's presentation earlier about our expenses being higher than our revenues for the last 2 years. I'll switch over real quick to the draft budget. If you remember, we have 3 board meetings in which we talk about the budget. This is the first one. This is kind of the 10,000 foot level. There's no action taken on this. This is called the draft budget. Later on, we'll do the tentative budget, and then in September, we pass the working budget. So we just passed the working budget for this current year. We're already working on budget for next year. So this is the kind of the 10,000 foot level. This is where you kind of just put in, you kind of copy over a lot of the expenses and revenues, and then you go in and you tweak a few things just to kind of get a placeholder where you're at. This budget would, it puts 1.5% increase in salaries. That's an average. Depending on what step you're on, you can get anywhere from a 3% increase to a 0% increase. If you've got 30 some plus years in, you'll get a 0% increase. If you're kind of more on the lower level of your step, you get a higher increase. So this is just kind of a 1.5 kind of captures an average. It does increase the CERS up to 26.55%, which is for the CERS retirement. That was an increase. If you remember, we were supposed to have an increase last year, but it was held constant from the previous year because not knowing what the pandemic would do. Now, to balance this budget, we had to move out of the contingency fund $283,000. Now, that's before we talk about all the more money coming from the federal government. So this is kind of always the worst case scenario. What we'll do is between now and the tentative budget is start working and getting those numbers a little bit more closer to what we feel like that would be starting July 1.
That's where you break it out by schools.
Start to, yeah. So, Mr. Morgan's already been talking about staffing and stuff like that for the next coming months. So we're going to put the tentative budget in to kind of make it better. Then when you get into the working budget, you're in the school, you kind of know where everything is, you kind of adjust everything for the remainder of the year. No, it's late, so I went through it.
Overall, it sounds like we're not doing too bad as far as money goes.
Except well, I mean,
I know you could never say, yeah, it's great.
I would point, I think it was slide number 10 on Harold's presentation, that shows that, our expenditures for last year are higher than our revenues, and they were the previous year. That's just, that's a trend you can't continue.
I was going to ask you something about that. I didn't want to ask them for this thing. But, on the list I went before, here's, this is the second last one. The general fund revenues by source, and it's got, what the gold line is, the state money, and then, the blue line is earnings on investments.
Yes.
And then the federal is the gold line, and it goes down. So we're getting less money from the feds, right?
Right. That's been kind of creeping down for several years.
Yeah.
However, I would assume that we'll probably see an increase next year because of all the funding we're getting
Stuff that
now
they're giving
is
us.
coming from the federal government. Because I'm having to set up.
The gray line, it goes way up and it says other. What's the other?
I'll have to look. I'm not for sure what they included in that.
So that's revenue. What in the world do we get that?
I bet, like, one guess I have, and I hadn't taken auto reports like you said, it's back, but I believe we started receiving federal care money it would have been at the end of that year, that fiscal year.
And that's
So I
what
was
it is.
expecting that maybe, that fiscal, that care money, it would make sense they didn't want to group it in with the other federal funds, just to, because that would have skewed their grant from year to year, the timeline and all that fun. So maybe that other, I suspect maybe there will be a care.
Okay, so I'll put a question. Yeah, whatever. Because I thought, what in the world other do we have except taxes that we get for revenue, but we never had anything new coming in except for that.
Care money.
Yeah.
Don't you think our expenditures went up because of COVID?
Sure.
I mean, for what? Well, yeah, but you also got to remember you got increasing retirement costs and kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I mean, that's part of it too that can be alleviated a couple of years from now.
The CERS, that's going to continue to go up.
Well, I know, I'm talking about our extra expenditures for COVID. Gas and all this cleaning that we have to do, that's all added expenditures that should go away once we get out of it.
It should.
I say it will.
But I'm worried about those with the funding eventually will decrease back down because they've given you all this money. And they gotta figure out a way to make that work out somehow. So they're giving it to you now, I think, to help you get through all this. But I think there will. Yeah.
Which is what my understanding is if you got stimulus money last year, if you have a tax, so this is just a different version of what you're saying. When you do your taxes this year, if you were going to get a refund, it's going to be decreased by the amount of the stimulus money you got last year. Now, they won't, if you go below zero, they're not going to collect that from you. But if you got $1,500, $1,200 in stimulus money last year, if you were to get $1,000 back in taxes this year, you're going to get nothing.
That's right.
That's what I've heard. So I think that's what Lisa's saying is that, yeah, you're getting some money up front, but at some point you got.
Right. You're not paying it back, but you're just not getting anything extra.
Right. They advanced you your money.
So why didn't they tell you that? So you can say, no, I don't want it.
They did. I think when they gave it out, they said it would be, now, I don't know about this second round that just hit. I don't know. I haven't heard that this one. Of course, that would be a little odd because some people got theirs before December 31st, and some people got theirs after December 31. So that would be a little bit hard. I don't know whether it's going to be that, they're 2 or 3 tax years.
And they put that, people have it
Isn't that fine? I don't like your on your credit. Whatever the things you can't read. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Debbie.
Let's see, the energy report, first elections, so I guess that's more FYI, any questions on the energy reports, right?
The only thing I'll point on that is through this point in this fiscal year, we're down $31,000. We saved $31,000 compared to last year, and last year we had saved $6,000 over the previous year. So we are doing really good. A lot of that has to do with schools not being really open. The only other thing I'll throw in, it's on the in there, is that we received a capital credit refund from all electric, and that's $3,200. That's not included in those numbers of savings. So you say it's higher.
That was great.
How much did we get?
$3,200, $3,270.
What would all this new energy stuff we put in? We should save some more.
That's the hope.
Right.
Well, the water savings, though, we decided we should take that rather quickly, right? The water savings.
Yeah. Except for the building.
Yeah, we've got a over $1 million in water.
Hey, what's wrong?
$1 million from the auditor?
No, $1 million for
Water.
water.
Oh, for what?
Somebody just realized.
So this record meter sent us $1 million water.
Oh, my God.
No. You're kidding.
No, we're not kidding.
Nobody approved those?
Look at our train barrels.
Look at, look at.
They misread it and then we have to pay that.
Yeah, we actually have a credit, but it was $1 million. We got it.
Did you make a copy?
Oh, yeah, I've got a picture of it.
Oh, my goodness.
So this guy had a hard time, because somebody the water.
Just a little mistake.
They don't make mistakes.
Huh. Good.
Okay, Debbie.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, don't forget next Thursday, 5:30, 5:30.
5:30 or 5?
5.
5.
5 o'clock. Yeah, we'll be here till your birthday.
We can put it on a real time clock this time. Shut them off.
Or, what are they gonna tell us?
Talk about closing the gap, map scores, all that stuff.
Do they have any scores?
Yes.
They do?
Right.
We've already got scores.
Do we do math testing when you're, we did math testing this week?
We're kind of starting virtual
Next
stuff
week.
and next week.
Be a 3-week window starting next week.
Starting next week.
Are you gonna test them the first day or not?
No, I don't think anybody's testing the first day.
But they're gonna test that first week.
They can. Every school makes their own schedule. And I take that back. Some of them are testing virtual students. Virtual students are coming in this week. Some of them have come in this week to test.
So I was trying to figure out how they were gonna do that virtually, if they're coming into the building to do that.
Yes.
Somebody made that reference and I was like, how are we doing that?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, because we said they're great, but I couldn't know how we could read that part, so. I'm a little worried. If we, because you know the scores are gonna be crummy. Don't you?
So we can only go up.
Well, yeah, but isn't that gonna make the teachers feel really lousy? I mean, if we do the testing and say, well, look, your kids don't know anything.
We're not gonna say
We're not gonna do that.
that.
You're not gonna do that?
No.
You think they're gonna feel that way? I think it really needs to be more of, this is where the kids are at, and this is what we need to do.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's a formative piece of data.
Okay. As long as we.
It always has been.
Been full board for a long time.
Correct.
Just to kind of give us a jumping point. Yeah, it is, and as long as we don't make them feel like, you know, well, we know you didn't do anything. Oh,
The
because they've
kids,
been killing themselves. I know they have.
no,
Okay.
They never.
I hope. I'll be optimistic. I hope, yeah. Like I said, during the Second World War in England, those kids didn't worry about taking tests. They didn't worry about going to school. They just wanted to stay alive. You know? And when it was over, those little kids that didn't go to school, they didn't turn out to be idiots. They all learned to read, they all learned to write, and they got good at it.
I think what we're gonna find is that the gap may not be as big as we think it is. And this is why, because just today, Heather and I both were in buildings watching teachers teach virtually. And what I saw today, kids were showing up and teachers were teaching and students were learning. So what the MAP test will do for us is give us a true diagnostic and a sense of where our students are. And I don't know that the results are going to be as promoting as we think they are going to be. Yes, we have some students that we know are going to need some catch up, but I don't know that we're going to be as surprised as
I hope.
we think they are.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay,
But we need to know where they are.
I know.
So this is going to kind of help us know. We have to know where they're at.
Okay. You're up. Yeah. Make the motion. I got it.
You want me to say that, you would be here a long time.
I make the motion to adjourn, Debbie.
How's that?
Good. Okay. All right. Do we second it?
I think she seconded it, I believe.
All right. No.